Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Skeptics and Scoundrels. My name is Eric, and here with me I got...
Ember, hello.
It's Ember, just like from last night. So we are back here again for part 2 of a blog post by Cameron Bertuzzi talking about street epistemology. And we're fairly close to being done with it. Looking back, I kind of wish we had finished it yesterday, but I'd already called the stream when I realized we were so close. So, Ember,
it's all right. Everybody was getting worn out. I saw your post shortly after that you even forgot about the doggos.
That too. Shamefully, I totally forgot about the dog. So I will definitely not forget about that tonight. So tonight we have dogs, and I got a cat here too. I might show her off.
Bonus pets.
Yeah, we'll talk about that blog post, and then Ember had the foresight to say, hey, we have very little content tonight for the stream. Let's go over a street epistemology video. And the one he provided is from Anthony Magnabosco, who I understand is very popular for this type of thing. So yeah, that'll be something fun. I haven't looked at it all yet. It'll be just kind of a, we'll just do it live type thing. But
hell yeah. Bill O'Reilly. What could go wrong?
Yeah, what can go wrong? Except just blinding rage because a teleprompter kid didn't do his job quite right.
Something like that. I can't remember.
That's such ancient history now too. Like that's like an eon ago that happened. And it's also now an eon ago when Bill O'Reilly got fired for all the sexual harassment settlers they were having to pay out from. That's like now like 5 or 6, maybe 7 years ago.
Yeah, and pretty soon we'll make references to that, and people in the chat will be like, "Oh, what now?"
I go, what now? Yeah. It'll be, just so bizarre. And now we have, Tucker Carlson, he's now out, and he's now the current, kind of talk of the dumpster fire that is Fox News.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to start his own, Truth Social 2 or something like that.
I think he's starting to do that because a lot of his audience is going to probably go with him, which I'm fine with that. I'm like, yes, please, tear each other apart. Do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Stacy's mom's podcast is here. Stacy and
hey.
Welcome. It's great to have you. I think Stacy, I popped you up to moderator. So we had a mildly disruptive participant last night, whom was taken care of by everyone. So, but anyway, I'm kind of getting some modders in here. Hello, thank you.
Yeah, tide goes in, tide goes out. Oh, hi,
tide goes in, tide goes out. You can't explain that. Yeah.
Yep.
That and that's another one. Like that was an interview with David Silverman, who has also fallen from grace and become this social pariah, trying to, I don't know, recapture his popularity.
Yeah, I don't know. But that clip's only fresh in my head because I had to dig it up for a video a month or so ago. I was like, I need that for some... I can't even remember why anymore, but
yeah, he was
classic clips.
He was some hot meme material for a while. Like he had a whole back when the memes were it was the black and white kind of vector graphic of an image. Before the internet had the capacity to actually handle full color images.
You're giving away our age, my friend.
I know. Hey, Niddy, I'm so glad to have you here.
Niddy.
Yeah, Niddy.
But why is Niddy?
Why is Niddy? Niddy just is. Kind of like energy, kind of like God. Niddy is just present. He is a brute fact of our universe. And I am very glad that that's
true. It's true.
Because the world is better with Niddy in it. Hey, Niddy, I know you joined us for our last live stream. No pressure. If you want to join us, just ping me. I will toss you a link, and you can join us to talk about some street epistemology. If not, you want to sit back and just relax and take it easy, that's tough. That's fine too. So it's up to you. Just let me know privately. Who else we got here? We're nearly at the end of the list. Eric Ouellette. Ouellette. Probably Ouellette. What a late live. Cool. Well, hey, Eric, nice to have you here. And as a fellow Eric, I really appreciate you. Which I will not say about Eric Hovind, but
fair.
Eric Ouellette, I am totally fine with Eric Ouellette because he is not Eric Hovind. And he also has good things to say about my late live stream. Slack back, just coming over from the Epic The Line. Yeah, I was just over there too.
Same.
So was Ember. Yeah, I think Niddy I saw Niddy over there. I saw Stacey's Mom podcast over there. Sorry, accidentally hitting my plate here. I have a plate full of Parmesan cheese because I'm a very healthy eater.
Pragmatic was over there, who I expect will be dropping by once that broadcast wraps, because
Probably.
Pragmatic catches literally everything.
Yeah. The same way that Niddy is a brute force of the universe, I think Pragmatic is just kind of omnipresent.
Yeah, I think so.
Prag is just there, in the closet, there, on the rooftop, there, in the stream, there, just omnipresent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pinworm actually reached out to me to ask about oh shoot, what was that guy's name? Slagwall? No. I don't even know who this dude is, but he apparently caused some trouble. But yeah, I tried to look it up. I have no idea what the deal is with that guy. Oh, yeah. I'll find it here in a second.
Yeah, I love YouTube drama or internet drama. Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about it. See here, let me pronounce this correctly.
Pine Creek, that's what it is.
Oh, Pine Creek. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pine Creek.
No clue.
I super chatted once in Pine Creek. I mean, Pine Creek's human. He's got good characteristics and bad characteristics. I think I mentioned yesterday. I haven't seen him do or say anything that's like, okay, I don't want to be, really have this guy in my life. He's a good street epistemologist. I super chatted once on his channel a few months ago, and he took notice of my name. I guess I was kind of getting just enough popularity, for lack of a better term, that he knew about me. And he says, "Oh, Eric Skeptic and Scoundrel, I have a new channel." And he immediately gave me a warning. He says, 51% of atheists don't like me. And
okay.
I'm like, hey, he's definitely not somebody who needs to be liked. But like I said, I go to his channel like many other places. I go there for the content, and I don't think he's crossed any lines in my book yet. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, there's so many quality content creators around that it's hard to keep up with all of them. Like, it seems like every week I'm hearing about somebody that everybody just assumed I already knew about.
Yeah. It's amazing, Cal. You can have, like, just for instance, like tonight, Forrest Valkai on the line said, I've never watched any of Professor Dave's stuff. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm kind of aware of him. I know he's well liked, but I've never watched any of his stuff because he doesn't have time. Mm-hmm. And considering all the content creators out there, it makes sense. You're not going to hear about everybody or be able to watch everybody.
Yeah. I've heard Jimmy mention something like that before too. Like, they're just, Jimmy doesn't have time to watch and keep tabs on what's going on in the rest of the atheist universe.
Yeah. And I did, Niddy did reach out to me. I did send him a link. So when he pops in here, he'll pop in here. He's probably getting ready. Cool. Yeah. So let's just get started and go through the rest of this. So to recap from yesterday, and if anybody has not did not watch yesterday's stream, because it was kind of a last minute thing. I think I scheduled it like 30 minutes before it actually happened. I am reading a book by a guy named Peter Boghossian. His book here is called A Manual for Creating an Atheist, and this is all about street epistemology. Hey, Niddy's here. I'm going to pop him in here.
It's a Niddy.
Hey. Yo.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Got a bunch of night owls in here now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Niddy, I was just going over what we were talking about from yesterday. So I'm reading this book, A Manual for Creating an Atheist by Peter Boghossian, who invented street epistemology, which is something that Pine Creek's big on, and many other people. I'm very fascinated by it because I think it's a very effective way to, at the very least, get your interlocutor to really analyze what they believe and what they're claiming to be true and really justify it. But anyway, as I mentioned yesterday, Cameron Bertuzzi, a few years ago, made this blog post, 5 ways to respond to street epistemology. So Cameron Bertuzzi viewed street epistemology as enough of a threat to basically try to educate his viewers into how to respond to it. Hey, Mikey's here. Mikey Famine. Hey, man.
Oh, and I see Nara.
He popped in last night just after the stream ended and left a comment on the last one. But hey, Mikey, it's good to see you here. Hopefully your new kid is doing well as your wife. It's great to see you here. Nara is also here. Hello, Nara. That's a nice AI art. Pissed off Jesus. Look out, he's coming at you right with that hellfire. He's just going to make you pay for being you.
I thought that was, Ben Kenobi gone over to the dark side.
That it could also be, yeah. I mean, Ben Kenobi is Space Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just to recap about what this article is about. Anyway, 5 ways to respond to street epistemology. I just realized by reviewing this earlier today, it's not quite 5 ways to respond. It's more like 5 things to do to prepare for a conversation with a street epistemologist. Because each one of these are kind of atomic. They're not really like a strategy in itself to defend yourself against the inquiry, scrutiny, if you want to use, interrogation, if you want to be really like aggressive about the terminology, how to defend yourself against that. It's more like do this to prepare, do this to prepare, do this to prepare. And it's not very much specifically responses. So anyway, and the 5 things, if I remember correctly, so define your terms. Sorry, I don't mean to make people sick. So there's 2, 4, 5 bonus tip. So the large subheadings, there's only 2 of them. It's the smaller subheadings, that's the 5. So the smaller subheadings are supposed to be the things that you do to respond to a street epistemologist, but they don't really, it's not really a response. Like, define your level of confidence. We went over this yesterday. That's what a street epistemologist wants to do, define confidence. A street epistemologist is going to ask you, typically, on a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 is all doubts and no confidence, 100 is all confidence and no doubts, how confident are you that Christianity is true? Cameron's response to this is, don't say 100%, but try to frame not 100% as a 100%. He says that here, right here. He says 2 ways to do this. So here's one of the ways. Basically, define the numbers. Instead of 100 being defined as all confidence, no doubts, which would make sense because 0 is all doubts and no confidence. Tell them instead that 100 ought to mean my level of confidence that Caesar crossed the Rubicon. So he's trying to conflate absolute certainty with maximal certainty or reasonable certainty. Which
out of the apologist playbook.
Yeah, and my response to that is just
equivocate right out of the gate.
Yeah,
possible, therefore probable.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and ultimately, it comes down to 100% does not equal 100% is what they want to establish. And my response to that is, don't do that. Just simply say 95%. Just say I'm confident in Christianity 95%. But that doesn't quite sound right. That makes you feel icky as a Christian when that rolls
You're not a
off the
real
tongue.
believer if you're not at 100
God
all
is-
the time, no doubts.
God is frowning upon you, you sinner, for not having that absolute confidence in him. How dare you not say 100?
You have
You're
to
going to hell
repent
now.
again.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, his response to that is just make numbers not mean what they mean. So that's his
math?
first. Yeah, that's his first way to respond, which isn't really a response. It's just the street epistemologist is going to want to do this thing, do it this way. Anyway, define faith as trust. So we went over again. We're basically redefining terminology to not really mean what they mean. Went over all of that yesterday. In fact, I'm actually I was a little bit deeper in the book today, and it actually gets way more into this. So I'm kind of regretting I didn't read more of this book before I address this. But hey, it is what it is.
I mean, even Forrest Velka got called out for not reading all of his books
by
his wife.
Yeah, that was great. That was a really entertaining stream.
Yeah, those two are always a trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so it comes down to just, hey, Hebrews 11:1 here, the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. He's trying to basically say the evidence part is here. Conviction equals evidence, which that's not the case. You can have conviction of something with no evidence.
I already have an issue there with that sentence.
Yeah.
Some translations replace conviction with evidence. That means scholars don't agree or don't want to reach for the word evidence.
Yeah, so I looked that up. I went to like Bible Gateway or whatever when it says, some translations say. So I looked into it, and there are like a dozen, but they're all the really, really esoteric ones, the specific case. The most mainstream was the King James 21st Century Edition.
Oh, God.
I'm like, okay. Just people just basically translating to make it say what they wish it said, which is always fun.
Yeah, and we saw a little bit of that on the line tonight, where words weren't quite meaning what they were supposed to mean. That one individual, I think it was David, basically telling Forrest, "You're reading it wrong," when he's reading it literally in order on the page. It's like, no, you're reading it wrong. Like, this came before this, and this came before that.
Yeah,
yeah, and it's just that sleight of hand where things don't mean what they mean. You're sold on one idea, but then when you're scrutinizing that. The claim based on the standard of that idea, all of a sudden that idea means something different. For example, God is love. God doesn't loving things. Oh, hey, wait, you're not getting the God's love. God's love is different than the love we experience, even though we're already beyond the point of me selling you that God based on love. It's just sleight of hand. It's just playing around with terminology, and once you get into that realm, you can make anything mean anything whenever you want, and it's pretty bad. Anyway, where were you hashing a lot from was yesterday?
It's all good. It's important to recap.
Fine. This is a quick recap. We're getting through it. Number 3, seek the truth. Okay, that's how you respond to a street epistemologist? Isn't a street epistemologist also there to seek the truth? Mm-hmm. Is this an implication that the street epistemologist is not there to seek truth?
Well, his truth is biased.
Yeah, his truth is
in favor of facts and things.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was God, I'm going to have nightmares of that caller tonight.
I think Arden is too.
Yeah, Arden had to step in there and be like, I'm putting a stop to this shit. We're done. So seeking the truth, that's supposedly a response to a street epistemologist. And this kind of implies that, like I said, the street epistemologist is not seeking truth. Like, I understand from Cameron's point of view, he's holding a truth position. His position is true. He seems to be missing the point that the street epistemologists honestly think that's not the case. And the street epistemologist is not necessarily selling a truth claim of their own. They're just simply, they don't believe that your position, Cameron, is the true position. So you're both coming into this seeking truth. So this, to me, this feels like just kind of a non-issue. Like, we're both here for the same reasons.
Fun bit of foreshadowing. This actually comes up in the video that we're going to look at later.
Cool. All right. I'm glad one of us watched it. So that's that's good
I only went about halfway through to make sure that it was good stuff, like that we could work with.
Like I said, Anthony Magnabosco, I hear, is very well regarded in the street epistemology camp. So yeah, this is great. Blah blah blah, and that's where we ended last night. So we basically went through all of that. So now we're going to go into point number 4. Faith is not a method. And like
Agreed.
I said, as we read through this, keep this in mind that this is a response to street epistemologists. So the ultimate goal for the street epistemologist is to point out, through carefully crafted questions, that faith is not a reliable method for knowing what's true.
How devious.
How devious. That's a dastardly. Like, how dare the street epistemologists conclusively point out with evidence and reason that faith is not a process to reach truth. And the more I read through this, the more, I've watched Atheist Experience for a really long time, and now Matt Dillahunty over on the line. And that is almost always something that comes up is why do you believe this? Well, I have faith. Well, do you understand that faith can lead you to any conclusion? It's not a reliable method to reach truth. And how do you demonstrate that? Okay, I will get a Christian here. I will get a Muslim here. They will both tell me they reached their conclusions on faith. And I can say both their conclusions are mutually exclusive. They contradict. Only one or neither can be true. And they're both reaching these things by faith. Faith is not a way to truth. Very clear and simple. A possible objection to this is, well, the Muslim's faith is not the same as my faith. My faith is genuine faith. And at that point, how do you even demonstrate that? So that's because in their minds, the process of faith leads to all sorts of different beliefs. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, etc. It's not in my mind. It's pretty much an objective fact, unless Cameron here is wanting to establish that any religion outside of Christians, their declarations of faith are somehow lies or untrue. So let's see where he's going with this. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, etc. He missed his closing. No, he didn't. Okay. All claims to know their religion is true by faith. So clearly, faith is not a reliable process. Reliable methods get us to true beliefs most of the time. This is true by definition. I agree with him in that last sentence.
I actually think you could have a personally reliable method, but you're still reaching a wrong conclusion. And the reason for this would be that you might be using standards of evidence or personal experiences or a particular authority that you're going to or reaching for on a consistent basis, and you're getting the result that you want, right? So it's a reliable method to you, but it's not actually a reliable method for anyone else, or it won't hold up to other scrutiny.
Yeah, you got to watch out for confirmation bias.
Yeah, he's right that reliable methods get us to true beliefs most of the time, but we have to be very discreet on what we mean by a reliable method, right? Because we can concoct all kinds of methods, right? I could say that putting on a third shoe on my hand makes me feel special, but that doesn't mean I'm actually special, right? That was a really silly example, but you get the idea.
It would make you special, though.
Well, Niddy, you're always special to me, so you're already there. So the shoe is kind of irrelevant. But no, I see what you're saying by that, and and it really does come down to that in that the faith methodology to reach your conclusion. Quite honestly, your conclusion is given to you first. Like imagine if you were just a human, blank from any beliefs, and you're introduced the concept of faith, not faith in a god or faith in anything, but you're given the methodology of faith. That blank human, would that blank human use that to reach any conclusion, or must first that conclusion be given to that person and then that person reaches it on faith? Like with Christianity and with the beliefs therein, all those beliefs are either given to you via birth or via your childhood through indoctrination. They're dictated to you from a holy book interpreted by humans or religious leaders. You are given the conclusion, and then you are expected to reach it and accept it via faith. From that point of view, faith isn't a reliable method to reach anything, because that anything must be given to you first, and then you then justify it with faith.
I've heard that come up a couple of times just today. I think it was in it was a channel that the algorithm just showed me, Scarlett something, I think. She's a linguistics professor. Anyway, it starts off with, we're not doing our kids any good service by bringing them into religion, because the way we go about it is we ask them a question they can't possibly answer, like where did the universe come from, and then give them an answer and force them to accept it.
Yeah, and it's not where did the universe come from, how let's start figuring out the answer. It's here's the answer, and here is the authority that gave us that answer. Now you must have a faith, you must build trust in this and keep and latch onto it via that. It's not real justification. Faith is not a reliable way to reach conclusions, and is also not a justification to hold on to those conclusions. It is really just useless. It's wishful thinking.
It's worse than useless, because it sets the stage in the brain, like we discussed last night, where the person gets the idea that you have to have an answer. So you can't ever have an I don't know. You have to have a better answer before you can let go of a previous answer.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Hiya, Maya.
Yeah, Maya's here. Hey, Maya. Okay, so let's keep on going then. The problem is that as we've just seen in response number 2, which is from yesterday, faith is not a method or a process for knowing what's true. Faith is trusting in what you have Faith is trusting in what you have good reason to think is true.
Good reason, huh?
If you have a good reason to think it's true, you don't need faith. You just need a level of confidence. And I think this might be why Cameron earlier wanted to skew the idea of confidence, like 100% confidence in something.
Well, also to adjust the definition of faith.
Yeah, yeah. And it is funny because in Bogosco's book, it talks about faith, and it also explicitly calls out Christians for wanting to play with definitions and make things more difficult, muddy the waters, confuse things. He calls the term faith a slippery pig that you have to wrap a blanket around and subdue because it is always changing. And here Cameron is showing that that Boghosia is absolutely right, that this is the strategy that Christians do. Not all Christians, but
Owen Telltale, what is it he says? Weasel words?
That's a good one. Yeah, weasel words. I'm all for that. Yeah. And obviously Cameron is not all Christians, but he's a very prominent Christian apologist. So, I mean, if he's preaching this strategy, probably a lot of his followers, his acolytes are probably mimicking that. All right. Faith is trusting in what you have good reason to think is true. Faith is not a method. That's I'm in agreement there. If faith is not a method, I think Christians should stop presenting it as a method. The only option left is at this point is for the street epistemologist to attack your reasons.
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof, yeah. Attacking your reasons, yeah, that's actually a very good point. You may not have good reasons. That might be the whole point of the street epistemologist with this conversation with you, is showing that your reasons to believe are not valid or well-founded. And that's the thing, too. Once you bring faith into why you believe one of your reasons is true, now you're using faith as a method.
Yeah, and you're going to end up inevitably going circular.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of one of those things, because faith in the Christian worldview, faith is like propped up as this virtuous thing. God smiles upon those with faith. But here Cameron's saying we can't use faith for this, but we got to slip it in somehow because it's a good quality that God says that all of us should have. Yeah. And if you aren't equipped to defend your faith, well, I thought we aren't talking about faith as a process. I guess we still have to hold on to faith. All right. There's still a there's still a possibility you'll be made to look like you believe in Christianity without any. And if you aren't equipped to defend your faith, there's still a possibility you'll be made to look like you believe in Christianity without any. So Cameron's saying faith's not a method. You shouldn't bring it up to defend your position, but you don't want to look like you don't have faith, right? You'll be made to look like you believe in Christianity without any. So Cameron's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's trying to say faith is a good thing. Faith is a part of your process because we're all good Christians here. But don't tell that to the street epistemologist because he'll latch onto that and destroy you with it.
Also, yeah. I would appreciate that if this article was edited, like if you aren't equipped.
We noticed a few typos yesterday too.
Well, no, if you aren't equipped to defend your beliefs. Because notice how faith there means the corpus of all the fundamental doctrines and blah blah blah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Your entire body of knowledge, the summation of all of your positions you're holding, he's equating that to faith.
Right.
That's what he's doing right there.
It's just like sloppy. To call them the same, to use that same word. In this especially when it's crucial to what you're trying to stop people from doing.
Yeah. The way to avoid this is by becoming a student of apologetics. Sure. I mean,
there's lots of books to buy.
Yeah, there are.
That's it right there. That's the whole point of being an apologist.
$200,000 masters at Biola.
Not books to buy. There's plenty of Cameron Bertuzzi Capturing Christianity videos to watch and perhaps merchandise to buy. Become a Patreon today. He probably will eventually have one. I don't know.
He has to. It's like
Does he?
It's like the doctoral
way,
thesis of
Christianity is
becoming an
true.
apologist. You have to put out at least one book.
Cameron Bertuzzi.
He did not. With his photography credentials, he had a book.
Yeah, it's true. Well, wait, hold on. Good read. The Rationality of Christian Theism by Cameron Bertuzzi. 5 stars with 1 vote.
Nice. One book, 2 followers.
60
That's
pages.
rough.
Mm-hmm.
I am... Huh. Yes, I want to read. I don't want to sign up, though, no. Okay, so he has a 60-page book, essay, paper. I don't know what really to call this. That might be something fun to crawl through one of these days.
I love how he can produce and publish a 68-page book that's like, yep, faith reasonable. But then you have another book that's the Blackwell Companion to Theology, which is 2,000 pages.
Well, it's just gauche to plug your own book.
Right.
Perhaps.
I heard Armando Calvo wrote a book.
I was just thinking about him. That's
Wrote
I mean,
a
gauche.
book.
Yes.
Calvo
Logic
wrote
just finished the book review on that.
Yeah,
I
so
saw
good.
that today, and he, even with the mask, he looked so relieved.
Titan. More people have read my poems.
I've watched
true.
so many episodes
I
of
wouldn't doubt
Logic.
that.
I've watched so many episodes of Logic just tearing Armando Calvo to pieces. It's just endless entertainment.
It's hilarious how many more people on our side know Armando because of Logic than people on the theist side know Armando because of his ministry.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like I've never heard of any Christian apologist, anyone defending Christianity, utter Calvo's name. I wonder why. I mean, he's a small time YouTuber and stuff. I forget how many subscribers he has, but even if he was well known, I don't think anyone would go near him with all the plagiarism he's been kind of found to be guilty of.
Demonstrably done, yeah.
Demonstrably.
Anyway.
Yeah, about the only people who could are the ones he's plagiarized from to show how gracious they are as Christians and forgive him for his sins or whatever.
Yeah.
And not demand the royalties.
Oh.
I mean, it's hard to get royalties from a guy who sold, apparently
three
two
cells.
copies. Yeah, because one of Logic's followers bought a copy so he could make the PDFs that Logic was using.
Oh, nice. I thought Logic got his own copy.
He did, and Iseth was doing the graphics, but one of his patrons, I guess, bought a copy to make PDFs from. He said he didn't ask him to do it. In fact, he told people not to do it, but he went and did it, so he was going to use them.
Wow. Eddie Dean asks, Eric, so theists use faith as atheists use confidence? That's a very simple question. It's really hard to answer because, honestly, I've been going over this document for 2 days now, and I still don't quite know exactly what Cameron here wants to use the word faith to describe. If you
To
look
be
back,
most charitable, I would say
definitions vary.
some theists might use faith as confidence in if they're being careful with their words, right?
Mhm.
But others will just throw it out. Like, oh, I have faith. I just throw my trust at this and I don't have a methodology or like, anything other than my feelings or a particular experience that drives what I mean, what I might mean is confidence. But it's not the same as, I also would distinguish like non-believer confidence is hopefully derived by methods or some personal study and not just your feelings.
Mhm.
But you can also have confident feelings about all kinds of things. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
I mean, you can substitute the word faith, used in a colloquial sense like we use it, for a number of different words and possibly even increase your linguistic precision. Like in that example that Eddie just posted, is you could say, I have trust, I have reason to believe is a little bit more of a mouthful. But I mean, if you've used your bed before, then it seems likely that it would continue to support your weight. Of course, nothing is ever for sure. I've had beds break on me in the middle of the night for no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I like to use car analogies with people. Like, I have a general level of confidence that when I put my key in the ignition and turn it, the car will turn on. But it is 20 years old and could just poof.
I've had a number of cars not turn on me too.
Me too, yeah. And actually, it's the same car, so that's fun. Yeah. But
Boghossian, in his book, he actually starts to do that. Anyway, just to finish off Eddie Dean's question, if you look at number 2 here, define faith as trust. So he is trying to conflate faith or equate faith with trust. Like, I trust my wife, I have faith in my wife, or I trust this bed will hold my weight. I have faith this bed will hold my weight.
Yeah, at this point, it's just poetic language, really.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. So there's a huge difference between faith and trust. Trust is, I have a reasonable level of confidence that this thing will do the thing that I want it to do. Faith, on the other hand, is an expectation of success, or it think of it this way, like I have faith that God, or I trust God will cure me of my cancer, or I have faith that God will cure me of my cancer. Those two words have very different implications. Saying I trust God to do that, there's a built-in, at least the way I interpret it, there's a built-in implication that God may not cure my cancer. I'm trusting him to do that, but he may not do it. But saying I have faith that God will cure my cancer, you're basically saying I am confident God will cure my cancer. There's a subtle difference there, and
yes, it's an expectation.
Yeah, it's an expectation, and the way just the way faith is just kind of doctored up and propped up here. It's no wonder that Cameron's trying to do that. Like I said, that sleight of hand of. We need to somehow display 100% confidence without taking on the responsibility of 100% confidence. We are we
and
need
the
to
other
play
thing
these word games here.
That's very, very important about Hebrews 11:1, which is the one that you have to play the word games with, that you have to conflate it to trust. Let's say that in this Jewish influenced Greek text that the structure of the argument is going to have the heaviest weight at the end, right? Mm-hmm. What happens at the end of Hebrews chapter 11? The author is making the point that all of these people have put their whole life in the hands of God for something that they have not experienced yet, that they have no demonstrable evidence for.
Yeah.
They are totally riding the train to its end. They're jumping off the cliff for Yahweh. They're all in, and they're going for a city they haven't seen yet. They're running a race, and they're not sure where the end is, right? Sure, they might have other things that bolster the case or whatever, but the whole thing is that there's something they're looking forward to that they don't have yet, right? It's all expectation-based faith. It's not this evidence bullshit.
Yeah, it's back to Hebrews 11:1. Confidence in things not seen. Like you have not seen these things. You have not observed them. You have not measured them. You have not demonstrated them. But you have confidence in it. And even back in the article, they were trying to swap out confidence with evidence, which would make the scripture translate to the evidence of things not evidenced. And it's like, it makes no sense.
And it makes the whole rest of the chapter look like complete shit.
Yeah.
It just, the rest of the chapter won't make any sense. It makes the author of Hebrews look dumb all of a sudden. It's like, what the? It's a beautiful letter, and then just to play this word game with it makes it nonsensical.
So my first thought is apologists cherry pick. That's what they do. Why wouldn't they do it with their own Bible? And then my second thought immediately after that is maybe that's where they got the idea to start quote mining in the first place, is by pulling verses that they want and ignoring the rest from the Bible itself.
Yeah. I guess maybe another way to look at it too is, okay, when Hebrews was written, can you imagine the guy scribing down Hebrews? Can you imagine him thinking, how do I defend myself against a street epistemologist when he's writing this? Obviously, he's not thinking that because they didn't exist back then.
They did have sophist
they may have
people and philosophers, but not.
Yeah.
Socrates, Socratic method was kind of around, but
it was around.
I don't think it.
Socrates,
but I don't think
definitely before
the Bible authors.
Yeah.
For sure. Because Socrates was the possibly fictional teacher of Plato, who taught Aristotle, who taught Alexander the Great. So we're looking at 100 years before Alexander-ish.
I gotcha.
There's Pragmatic.
There's
I knew
Prag.
you'd be by. Hello, Pragmatic.
I had faith Prag would show up.
Yes.
Hey, Prag, good to see you. We were talking about you at the very beginning of the stream, and we just I'm confident you're omnipresent because you're all over the place, and it's great to have you.
Just
here,
like Titan is omniscient, always watching.
Titan's omniscient. Niddy is just a brute fact of the universe. I think all of us should have some type of godly quality that we can just assign to ourselves and own.
We could be a Trinitarian stream team.
Trinitarian stream team.
In
Three of us.
In the name of the Eric, the Ember, and the Niddy.
I mean, it worked out well for Aaron Rod, Matt Dillahunty, and Seth Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
We're the future, damn it.
They've had a really good tour. All right. So yeah, where were we? I undid my highlights, so I forgot where. Let me look here.
Oh no.
Yeah. It was a long day for me today, so my brain is not quite at 100% today. I had work, and then I also was staining trim for my living room, and then there was the Forrest Valkyrian Guts of Gibbon live stream that just drained me of my energy. Okay, the only thing keeping you from intellectually engaging your faith is you. What does that mean? Become a student of apologetics. That's what we went over there. I never could have imagined the wealth of knowledge that exists in defense of Christianity, the black hole companion to natural theology. The only thing keeping from intellectually engaging your faith is you.
If they spent half as much energy seeing what the Bible actually says instead of trying to figure out mental tricks to try to defend it, they probably wouldn't be Christian anymore.
Possibly. I kind of like the shifting of responsibility here, though. The only thing keeping you from intellectually engaging your faith is you. So is he kind of here admitting or implying that if a street epistemologist gets to you, it's because you did not intellectually engage your own faith?
Yeah,
I mean,
basically,
blaming the victim is kind of what Christianity does.
So true.
Yeah, I experienced this a lot in my former church, where the language is, if you don't have good reasons, you're kind of a failure as a Christian.
Yeah.
If you aren't loving God with all your mind, there's something deficient in your faith. Like it's a slight cultic jab that you're not living up to your potential, basically.
Yeah. The Witnesses has something very similar. I guess there's I forget the scripture in the Bible, but it's basically God will not test you beyond what you can bear, or rather, God doesn't test you because he's not a jerk like that. God will not allow you to be tested beyond what you can bear, which it's such a clever scripture, because not only are we establishing that God is not the one that tests you, he's the one that allows you to be tested. He's the one that allows Satan to get to you and not actually doing the testing himself. But it basically tells you that whatever is thrown at you, you can handle. So when you don't handle it, that's your fault. That was some deficiency in you. You weren't faithful enough. But if you look at it though, like if I wasn't faithful enough, that means I couldn't handle the test. So God allowed me to be test beyond what I can handle. Like it's this weird like double standard of setting somebody up to take the blame if they fail. If they succeed, then it's God protecting you from being tested beyond what you can bear. If you fail, there's some deficiency in you, but the God, like, it doesn't make sense. But it kind of smacks of this here. The only thing keeping you from intellectually engaging your faith is you. The only thing keeping you from succeeding is you. If you fail, it's you. That's at least what I'm interpreting this as. I could be
yeah. There's a more brute level to that too. Like, God will. I've heard that from many other faiths as well. That God will never give you more than you can handle. And then there's people who die in car crashes. Was their faith not strong enough to survive the car crash? Come on now.
That's yeah. That actually kind of hits close to home because I knew a couple that moved to my area a long time ago. They just freshly retired. They were both like in their like late 50s. They were going to use their retirement years to go out in the ministry, preach for Jehovah. They had all this planned. They bought a house. They simplified. They were setting themselves up to go out door to door. And while they were out door to door, a car T-boned them and killed the wife. Like weeks after they arrived there. And I remember the aftermath of that whole thing and us basically comforting the husband and trying to explain to him why God allowed this to happen. Because his explicit purpose for being there with his wife was to retire in a low expense area so they could preach. And God allowed his wife to get T-boned by a car and die. It just doesn't make sense. Like with the way they try to set up God as protecting you, watching over you, will not allow you to be tested beyond what you can bear, all this stuff, and then crap like that happens.
Yeah, I would even say like it can be at least dying it's over with, right? But then I think of like, Christians who marry at like the age of like 21, 22 or whatever, and then they go through these really trying times later in their marriages or midlife and end up getting divorced, and it's extremely painful for them, the kids, all this. And back at their wedding, at like my former church or whatever, they exchanged these super holy vows and, are preaching the Bible to each other at the altar. And, everyone, the whole bridal party is showering the attendees with more Bible verses and proclamations of how much God is going to bring glory through their marriage. Yeah. Did everyone not have enough faith to have that marriage succeed?
Yeah.
Like, and then for the people to go through all that pain later, like, of course they did, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's and that's the thing too. Like if I'm a chemist and I have a formula, I want to do an experiment, I put in this much of this liquid, this much of this substance, yada yada yada, put over a Bunsen burner and heat it up, I will get a result. I'm given instructions to do this, this, and this, and I get this result. And if the instructions are correct and it is an accurate reflection of reality, I will get the result that I am told. With Christians, for the most part, if they're told, oh, put God first in your life, pray together every night, don't go to bed angry, don't all these things. They give all these instructions about how to keep a good marriage. But so many Christian marriages fail. And it's not in many cases, one person might not be following the instructions. But there's so many extenuating factors. There's so many things that can go wrong and so many things that can happen because people are such diverse and dynamic individuals. Trying to hand somebody a formula for the success to marriage just doesn't work. You would expect it to work because we're talking about God here, and God designed the marriage arrangement, and God did all these things.
And gave everyone directions even.
Gave everyone directions, and people will follow those directions, and it still fails. Why? Maybe the directions didn't come from God.
Oh, they try to make more directions too. I can't tell you how many Christian marriage books I have on my bookshelf right now. But I don't have that pretense behind me that I'm smart. So
I'm not. These are video games. What are you talking about?
All my Legos.
I have one little tiny shelf down there. No, I'm just kidding. This whole shelf here is books on my out of frame on my left. I got mangas. I got some serious books. Whole shelf of Star Wars books and more serious books. And then I have a whole bound set of encyclopedias down there, not because I read them, but because it makes the shelf bottom heavy, and I know the shelf won't fall over and kill me.
Fair.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's continue on. That all... Let me see here. Did I skip something? Yeah, okay. So a little bit of blame shifting here. As Christians, we are called to love God with all of our minds. Maybe what looked like doubt is actually the beginning of a radical new you. A person that is confident to share their faith because they know not only that it can change lives, but that there are good reasons to think it's justified, rational, warranted, and true! So, again, I mean, I can kind of see where he's coming from a little bit. Deconstruction without deconversion. If somebody is deconstructing, usually deconstruction is started with the process of doubt. And if somebody has doubt and deconstructs and then reconstructs their religion into something that they are more comfortable with, while it's not necessarily the outcome I would like to see, I can at least admire them for, recognizing that doubt, going through the process, and at least attempting to do something better. Here, though, it's like he's trying to say, hey, that cognitive dissonance you're feeling, that doubt you're feeling, that those uneasy willies that you're getting from talking to that street epistemologist, that's not an indication of a problem with your faith. That is the first step to making your faith better. Ignore the negatives and look at the positives. This is an opportunity for you to refine your faith and become more strong in the faith, instead of, hey, this might be evidence that you're not holding a justified position. Because that's, from Cameron's point of view, that's I don't want to say from Cameron's view that's impossible. Cameron thinks the position is true. If you can't justify it, that's a problem with your faith, according to his previous paragraph there. But he's basically trying to harness the cognitive dissonance that street epistemology is supposed to stir in you, if it's there, and use it towards something for his ends, for his gain, his goal of you staying within that Christian faith.
I'd be really interested in capturing Christianity's demographics, because I wonder given Cameron's about as old as me, at least ish, and I know that capturing Christianity is like kind of poised to be like younger, slightly hipper, reasonable faith, right? Slightly. And sometimes reactionary with all the demon stuff and whatnot. And to me, this reads a lot like the kind of early collegiate age apologetics books that get shilled to like college ministries and churches, where the case is just basically overstated across the board, right? And that's what that sentence is doing. It's like, look at all this stuff. Trust me, it's so good to believe this. You can't possibly doubt this after we get through with you with our classes in this book. Like,
I can't even imagine that kind of environment. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have any type of like Christian college education or anything like that. Yeah. None of that. So I can't even imagine it. Anyway, I missed a comment earlier from our previous conversation. Eddie Dean mentioned that his wife had died, and many Christians reached out with the whole, this is no more than you can bear. That's, that's just terrible, Eddie. Not only you had to go through that, such tragedy, but you had Christians basically telling you, you're strong enough to handle this because God is making you strong in that, or because your faith is going to hold you together.
Kind of thinking.
Yeah.
In a way, it can help with the sadness of the moment, because nothing cuts through sadness like anger. I had a similar situation with my stepsister died a few years ago, and at the funeral, there were a bunch of distant family members who were like, "Oh, she's in a better place now. She's in a better place now." I'm like, don't even talk to me. I realized it was more for her father because I was only a step relation, but it just it can be upsetting having people. They say words like that more to comfort themselves when they're confronted with that sense of mortality. They're like, "Oh, I'm afraid of death. I have to say something." Thoughts and prayers. I feel better. I've done something about it.
Yeah, or perhaps like they're witnessing some type of hard evidence contradiction, evidence against their position of, God is blessing you. Well, then why did God allow, for instance, my one friend, his wife to die in that car accident, or in, Eddie's case, his wife to die. Like, why did God allow that? And then you have Christians coming out of the woodworks going, God is not testing you beyond what you can bear, or not allowing you to be tested beyond what you can bear. It is not really the goal to give comfort, genuine comfort. The goal is to preserve the faith, because now the faith is at threat due to the tragedy. It's like the well-being of the faith is actually more important than the well-being of the individual being affected by that tragedy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to articulate why it pisses me off so much, because they pretend they're comforting you, but you're not even important in the equation.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's power on through. Sorry, Niddy, I don't like having your thumbnail down there, because every time I do this, I'm covering up half of you. Right?
There's other layouts, man.
Just go ahead and wave your arms up top if you need. Yeah, there you go.
Inflatable arm flailing Niddy.
I have blind.
You should do that when you're DJing, Niddy. That could be like a new
Ooh.
DJ dance. Yeah, and waveable, inflatable arm two-man thing. Okay, so that all sounds great. You might be thinking, but I just don't have enough time to read all of these books. I don't have enough time to justify my worldview, my religion.
Hey,
I got things to do.
Drinks.
Yeah. Hey, D-Drinks is here. David, welcome, man. I think David's probably the only one here that's not dealing with it being late night, because he's way over there in the outback in Australia.
Ah, it's a cheery mid-morning for him.
It is, yeah.
Well, maybe it's afternoon by now.
Possibly, yeah. I told David in a comment already, but David just announced that he left his job and he's going into production content creation full time.
Nice.
He's taking a little vacation, and he's going to make Deep Drinks an even bigger and even better place. It's already awesome as it is, but he's going to be putting more into that.
And if you aren't
That
sub
is
to Deep
awkward.
Drinks, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. If you're here and you're not sub to Deep Drinks, go over there and check him out. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I did a live stream about a month and a half ago. 6:30 a.m. here. Well, hey, Tempestive. That's really nice. You must be over in Europe-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Kat is still around, Kat is in Australia land also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm still trying to. I'm so used to dealing with just U.S. time zones. Like most companies that I work for have a East Coast presence. So I'm always like, okay, that 3-hour offset and all that stuff. And then once it comes to like, okay, what time is it in the Middle East right now? I don't know.
I forgot what time it was in my time zone earlier today.
I should probably learn some tricks for which time zones it is. I do know from my friend living in Japan for several years, I do know that Japan is a 17-hour time offset from us here on the West Coast. Yeah, that was difficult to hook up with my friend and hang out or online, because he was always doing that. Anyway, all right. I just don't have enough time to read all these books. Here's a shocking statistic. In the time you spend on social media each year, you could read 200 books. Okay.
That's
it's not
completely arbitrary.
Yeah. It's not a matter of having no time. It's a matter of not using your time well. Well, how do you know, Cameron, that I'm not using my time well if I'm a Christian? Maybe I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not on
that's a
social media.
super privileged statement.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have the time. It's like saying, oh, you don't have the latest iPhone. Well, you can afford it. Just, cut back on avocado toast.
Yeah.
Fuck you, dude.
You'd have the time if you ran a channel like I did full time, because then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
presumptuous.
think Bertuzzi's made it through the Black Belt Companion in Natural Theology that he listed up there. I don't have faith in that assertion. Or even half the authors that he's had on his own streams.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna buy your book.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit when I'm like when I went to all the channels that I've gone to. I've been on Neil's channel. I've been on Godless Engineer's channel. I've been on Deep Drinks, David's channel. I've been on Godless Granny. I've been on Skeptic Haven. There's no way for me to go through all the backlog of everything they've done. Mm-hmm. I have a general sense of what they do. I kind of look a little bit into their reputation to make sure that I'm not like getting into a live stream with some crazy. But for the most part,
and yet here you are.
Yeah, yeah. I've done thorough background checks on all of you. I have like a file over here on my desk. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's actually doable in this case. Like, I know every video you've done because when I found you, you had done 2 of them.
Yeah.
And Niddy, in all honesty, I haven't gone through all your videos, but
oh, don't.
But I mean, like our channels are about the same age. So,
Please do.
Niddy's a mean DJ in Hangout or in what is it called?
Gather.
Gather. I was going to call it Clubhouse. Gather. Yeah. So he's got my trust just based
I don't
on that
touch
fact.
Clubhouse. Nope.
But yeah, I don't blame Cameron for not reading every single thing that he necessarily promotes. Yeah. But I mean, trying to basically assume that people just waste all their time. A person can genuinely say, I don't have time to read all these books on my religion and still not have time to spare from other important things. Maybe they work 2 jobs to support a family, or maybe they're constantly going through medical problems or whatever. They're a caretaker for their family or their sick parents or whatever. Like, there's all kinds of scenarios here where somebody could genuinely not have to or not go through all these apologetic books. Which raises a really big question. Why does somebody have to do that? If God really wants you to believe, and God has given you sufficient reason to believe in the Bible, why do you have to read apologetics books? Like, either God did a piss poor job of setting you up to succeed, or this is a load of nonsense written by a bunch of guys, and these apologetic books are just to prop up that nonsense.
Yeah, we need to figure out how it can be true. It's an extension of the question, why does God even need an apologist?
Yeah. Just the fact that apologetics exists is an admission of God's failure to get his message across to the people.
Well, the other thing is, remember when I asked what do we think the demographics are or the target audience? By saying something like, here's a shocking statistic. In the time you spend on social media each year, you could read 200 books. Which demographic do you think spends that kind of time on social media, right? Yeah. It's maybe us and those, coming up behind us, right?
Yeah, younger folks.
And now it makes me wonder, as I'm talking, if that sentence is more for Cameron than it is for his readers.
Might be Cameron saying, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
That might be Cameron's whole motivation for this. It's not that he's seeing street epistemologists pick everyone that he loves off from the pack. He himself is experiencing that cognitive dissonance. He himself has had a hard time answering these things.
Well, his brother's a non-believer. So.
His brother's a non-believer. Yeah, and I'm sure they've had some conversations, probably. This could be Cameron. This is Cameron putting up his shields, thinking maybe... I'm completely speculating his motivations here. I'm not a mind reader.
We're psychologizing and
I'm having fun psychoanalyzing Cameron because he's just so fun to psychoanalyze. But this might be him saying, oh shit, street epistemology is getting to me. I know. I will teach others to defend themselves from street epistemology, and that will help me out.
It's possible.
They say teaching somebody else...
It's probable, I should say that.
Yeah. Teaching somebody else a topic is a good way to teach yourself. This might be his way of his own method of self-defense on it. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, kind of presumptive. I don't like it all that much. It's not a matter of having no time. It's a matter of not using your time well. Hey, you are spending way too much time working to feed those children. Take some time away from them. Read more apologetics books. Pick up some Gary Habermas. Maybe watch some real William Lane Craig videos.
Yeah.
Your
kids' first steps? Well,
God will
we don't
provide
have time for
formula. That. Yeah, God will provide formula for that infant. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, Cameron. Cameron's probably a nice guy. I'd probably love to sit down and have a beer with him, but I'm sorry, Cameron. This is really shitty of you. Anyway. Oh, here's how to manage your time. Thank you, Cameron. I really
Wait, is that post also on his blog?
It is. It's a link to his
Of course it is.
5. Oh my God. Will change your life.
He really likes 5. Huh? Is there a bonus one at the end too?
I think 5 is nice and digestible and will maximize your readers on it.
I mean, why should you have to manage your time? Just trust in God.
Trust in God, yeah. Pray to God to take care of all your chores. Like, pray to God, God, I would love to read the Bible more. I would love to read that latest book from Frank Turek. God, when I get home from work, please let the house be vacuumed and please let the dishes be done. Please let the dog be walked and have dinner on the table to feed my children. And hey, read a bedtime story to my daughter because she loves doing that every night. And that takes like a fucking hour. I just God, take care of all these things for me, and so I can watch those those videos or read that book. I doubt God is going to do that for.
That the Spirit will give you utterance when you need. So
Yeah.
like, what's all this? What's all this?
Yeah, I highly doubt that God will accommodate a person doing that prayer. No matter how much faith they have, they can have faith that, hey, God's going to answer my prayer because I need this. I need this right now. I need a break tonight so I can read up on some Gary Habermas, read up on the book that he hasn't released yet and probably never will. Yeah,
I have a going bet that Jesus will probably come back before we read Habermas's book.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a good poll to have. What will happen first? Well, 3 things. What will happen first? Jesus will come back in Armageddon. Gary Habermas will finish his book, or George R. Martin will finish the second to last book of
go there.
Ice and Fire. That's a tough competition right there. Yeah, Philly, lotto numbers. Man, I would love to have some lotto numbers like from God.
I mean, I can give you numbers. They may not work out well, but I can give you some.
Tempest is asking, God does chores? Can picture the dust all piled up on opposite walls, parties down the middle. Hey, there's a lot of testimony of people asking God for help, and then God comes through at the very last moment. I've given this testimony back when I was a witness. I didn't have the rent money for the month, and oh my God, it's 4 days left until it's due. And then I got a call on the phone, and it was that job that I needed. And I went over and I did the job, and I got paid, and I paid my rent on time. Thank you, God. Like, I believe those things. Lots of other people believe those things. Why can't God vacuum the house? Like, it's within his power.
Why did God even create dust bunnies?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, exactly. God could have just created a world where dust wasn't a thing. That would save a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how God helps people in these like really obscure ways that could really just be chalked up to coincidence. Like if I lived alone, my house was locked, and I came home, my house was vacuumed after I prayed to God for it to be vacuumed. That'd be pretty convincing. Like that would be convincing.
It'd be a start.
Evidence. It'd be a start. But like, okay, my house is locked. This has never happened before. I pray to God to vacuum my house, and I get home, and privately, nobody knows about it. And I get home, and my house is vacuumed mysteriously. That's something,
It's better than most miracles we hear about anyway.
It is. It's more concrete. But, when I needed rent to be paid, and it's a week left, 4 days left, and I get that call at the last minute for a job, and I get the money I need for rent, That's supposedly evidence for God, when it really could just be coincidence. If I pray and go home and my house is vacuumed, that's not coincidence, I would probably say, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, see, I really don't like that kind of testimony, because then you've got, if you accept that as evidence for God, then you, even though people don't really think about it this way, you also have to accept the case where a person is in a similar pinch, prays, and doesn't get the call.
Yeah.
Either God hates you or that's evidence against God, and neither one is really a good thing to be testifying about.
That's a good point. Yeah, but I guess it really comes down to what is good evidence. Like me coming home, my house is vacuumed. I wouldn't say that that's concrete evidence, and now I believe, but that is compelling. Something's up here.
Ghosties.
Yeah, but hey, just something happens at a convenient time that might have happened at any other time, and there's nothing remarkable about it. That's supposedly strong evidence for God. Whereas, yeah. So we can keep on talking about that all we want tonight, but let's move on. We're almost done. I keep on scrolling down, and I scroll back up because I want to keep the bonus tip a secret. It's because it's so funny. The bonus tip is so funny and so useless, and it's such a. Anyway, we'll get to it. Number 5, don't take things too seriously. I mean, this is just your worldview. It's just your eternal salvation.
Yeah.
Man.
Why would you want to know what's true?
Fucking serious with that. I mean,
somebody's here poking holes in your belief. Don't take it seriously. You have the truth. Don't worry. Trust me, you have the truth. Don't take it seriously. Don't take your conversation with a street epistemologist too seriously. Why? As I noted above, street epistemology works on a precognitive level, and Ember and I last night slapped that shit right down because it does not. Sorry, Cameron, you completely are missing the point of what street epistemologist is doing inside of your brain.
What is that even supposed to mean? Like, interacting with another human involves your cognitive faculties. What is precognition even supposed? It's this loaded language to
His point was that street epistemologists are trying to monopolize and exploit your emotions to get you to disbelieve.
But that's right around your logic.
It's not what they're doing.
Just like apologists do.
But that's still not precognition. Like, that's just a wrong...
Yeah, it's definitely the wrong term for it.
It's sufficient to impress his audience, maybe.
I take 200 milligrams of Wellbutrin today, right? That is going to operate in a way that will affect my cognition in a way. I could call that a precognitive condition, right? Or something. But sorry, I'm mad now.
Hey, BS, welcome. Hey, that's a good point. Cameron wrote this as a Protestant.
Would Catholic Cameron still agree with all this?
Oh man,
it's interesting.
That is a good question. That is an astute observation there, BS. I would really love to see how he would go back and revise this.
We should just read it to him one time and see what he thinks, and then maybe he forgot. It's like, I'm not sure about that. Oh, aren't you?
Yeah. To finish off what I was bringing up earlier, the whole precognitive level, like despite whether the term is actually accurate or not, Cameron's idea of what a street epistemologist is doing to a person is that a street epistemologist is stirring up emotions to get a person to doubt. My conclusion from that is that, I mean, my rebuttal to that was, no, a street epistemologist is not riling up your emotions. The street epistemologist is exposing and revealing cognitive dissonance in the person's mind, which causes discomfort, discomfort causes negative emotions. If you hold a position and I am able to ask you simple, straightforward, non-loaded questions, and those questions can get you to a spot where you are uncomfortable, or you are internally realizing, hey, I have a contradiction in my belief, stirring up that cognitive dissonance, you are going to feel discomfort, and you are going to have an emotional reaction to that comfort. But the emotional reaction is not the goal. It is the cognitive dissonance, because that is where that's the starting point of getting to a better and more refined conclusion. That was my rebuttal to it.
Yeah, only like a sociopathic and unempathetic person wants to hurt your feelings or drag you through emotional mud, right?
Yeah.
That someone who just cares about having true beliefs I mean, hopefully, if they see you struggling, they're going to be nice to you about that, right? They're not going to be like, oh, yeah, you're getting pissed. Well, or this is making you sad.
Yeah. And honestly, Cameron,
I've got you riled up.
Yeah.
Like a Pine Creek or something.
Honestly, Cameron, if I wanted to stir emotions, I would drill hard into the immoralities and atrocities and the monstrous actions of the God of the Bible, and really turn to a person why a person would align with such a heinous creature. Like, if I want to stir up emotions, that's the route I'll take. I would not use very carefully crafted questions to point out a contradiction in your position. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, Cameron's trying to he's trying to
or
basically
just
say
name call. I mean,
name call. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. I could just name call. I mean, sure. I don't know what do you call, this is probably a terrible thing to say. What do you call a turncoat? What's a Protestant and Catholic current turncoat? Like what kind of pejorative can you come up with that? Heretic, maybe. I don't know. Traitor. I don't know. A flipper. I don't know.
Martin Luther's Judas.
Yeah, there you go. That too. Not that I would ever do anything like that. I'm being playful here. Yeah. But if I wanted to rise emotions out of you, I could result.
Being scoundrels.
Man. Anyway, we're totally not scoundrels here. We're all skeptics tonight. I'm definitely not enjoying, calling Cameron names for being a Catholic now instead of a Protestant or whatever. BS got it. I will probably have to say yeah. Cameron, I'm sure, is genuine in many cases, but I think what's really distasteful recently about him is how he's platforming wannabe exorcists, really harping on the demon subject to really like, because I mean, demons sell. Teaching people about demons, teaching Christians about
it's
demons.
not your fault. It's frickin' Zipperhead or whatever that demon's name was.
Zipperface, yeah.
Yeah.
My luggage demon. I should make that my new avatar. All right. Anyway, let's get back to this. Oh yeah, Prague, thank you so much. Prague's looking out for me. Like,
Prague's
share,
the
and
best.
subscribe, folks. Please. I would love to have more subscribers. I've had a really nice burst of growth since my appearance on the line a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had like 400 subs in like a week. I mean, that's insane. I can't believe it. It's not officially on. I mean, I was asked by Jimmy today when to return. I'll be returning back to the line early June or mid June.
Sweet.
So I'll be on the Sunday show this time with Matt. So I think that's more of a religiously centric show.
Oh yeah, very much, because Jimmy designed that one to go directly head to head against Atheist Experience.
Yep. BS, you got me. I didn't discover Cameron was doing that so much until I did my demon video and I was doing research on it. But hey, I mean, I'm a shameless hustler. I'll go ahead and go with what gets me the most views. Although I'm not really benefiting from this channel. This is a side project and I'm having fun with it. I'm not making money off my channel like other people do. At least not yet anyway. We'll see.
I'm telling you, open up memberships and give people badges. People love to have their names in pretty colors.
Emojis,
I love to have my name in pretty colors.
Emojis sell.
Mm-hmm.
Man, like I think so I work in a tech environment, and my previous job we used Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams as our chat utility for intercompany communication. Microsoft Teams has a preset number of emojis and nothing else, and I hated it. Slack, on the other hand, is awesome. You can upload as many custom emojis as you want. My company, we have literally 1,000 custom emojis by all the different workers and stuff. Each one has a meaning. Each one has a use. It's like a culture built around your chat. Slack's got it right. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. Let's continue on.
Pretty colors, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, custom emojis, that kind of thing.
Custom emojis. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Benefits of the channel. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So, don't take it too seriously. Okay, as I've noted above, street epistemology works on a precognitive level. We've addressed that. You aren't reasoned into doubting Christianity. You are. If somebody can ask questions to point out a contradiction in your position, you are being reasoned into doubt. Sorry, Cameron, that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
If the method works, you've skipped directly to that conclusion. If the method works, you've skipped directly to the conclusion. If you doubt Christianity, you've missed something, according to him. Which is weird.
Or you're just doing motivated reasoning to get out.
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
yes.
What,
you're
but
failing
what if
to
someone-
motivated reasoning.
Yeah. But if you aren't reasoned into doubting, I mean, sure you can be, because you can be reasoned into doubting all kinds of things.
Yeah,
Right?
I could.
Like, why is Christianity safe from being reasoned out of?
I fully admit there are ways to get somebody to doubt without reason. You can just make them feel bad. Like it.
Right.
If the Bible's true and God drowned children, then that's just a fact. But and me trying to leverage that to make you not believe it, you could say that's not using reason. Like if I'm trying to establish that, hey, your position is wrong because God did a naughty thing, that's not really using reason.
Right.
But if I am identifying a contradiction in your position with questions, I am using reason. I'm just going about it from the opposite end. And Cameron's trying to basically just shut down the whole street epistemology approach as there's no reason involved here, when that is absolutely not the case. There is reason involved here. It is an inquiry. It is questions. It's a test to make sure. Yeah, it's a surgical tool. In computer programming, which is what I do for a living, you write code, and then you do something called writing tests, which is more code that tests the actual code that you want to run to serve your customer. We have things called unit tests, function tests, smoke tests, integration tests. You can kind of think of them as questions. Like, for instance, a unit test. Like, let's say I write a function that takes two numbers, adds them together, and gives it back to the caller. It's just a function that adds numbers. I can write a bunch of unit tests to say, if I give you 2 plus 2, do you give me back 4? If I give you a plus square root of 6, do you give me back an error? Like, is that code that I wrote functioning the way I intended it to? The same thing is true of street epistemology. The questions being asked by a street epistemologist is a test against the claims of the Christian. If the claims of the Christian, or the reasoning of the Christian, or the methodology they're using to come to their conclusions is accurate, then any test I throw at that person can be answered, and answered in a satisfactory manner. If there is a question I can leverage that cannot be answered satisfactorily, then something is wrong with the belief and claim. The same way that if there's a unit test I can write for my code that messes up my code and makes it trip up and makes it give me the wrong answer, or no answer at all, that means something's wrong with my code. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with the test. And that is, like I said, that is what street epistemology is there to do. It is a test against the belief and the claim. That's
a great analogy too. In fact,
I should use that. I just came up with that just now.
Test-driven development actually is, you write the test. You have an objective method and goal predefined that doesn't care about how it gets the result, right? It's just that here's what we're working towards, right? With evidence. In Street SE, your tests are, what are our evidence, right? And are these ideas consistent with each other, and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to fundamental philosophy. Like, the only thing we can be certain of is that our own thinking is there because of cogito ergo sum.
Yep.
Same thing. You can't be certain of anything unless you can doubt it. Even then, you probably can't be certain, but you can get closer to certainty. So, in a way, Cameron should be saying, go search out street epistemologists, because by testing your faith is the only way to be sure if it is true.
Yeah. Imagine, and that's a good way to put it. Imagine a coder who doesn't want to write tests for his code because he doesn't have, dare I say, faith that his code will hold up to scrutiny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's and I mentioned a couple times yesterday. These types of approaches, these types of strategies to evade street epistemologists, or quote unquote respond. This says way more about the person holding the religious position than it does about the street epistemologist. Way more. Okay, let's finish up this then. Okay, ask yourself, do I know when a belief is justified? This is actually a huge debate in epistemology. I do agree. Mm-hmm. What criteria must our beliefs meet in order to be justified? Does every justified belief have to be supported by empirical evidence? If the answer is yes, then what empirical evidence supports the claim that every justified belief must be supported by empirical evidence? we're hearing in word games.
Yeah, there's an echo in here.
Yeah. Until you thought through these kinds of questions, you're really not in a position to know whether testimony, for example, is a bad reason to believe that Christianity is true. Hint, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Because
other religions use testimony all the time.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's false. And Protestant Cameron initially rejected the testimony of the patristic fathers and all this other stuff that is a prerequisite to becoming Catholic. If
I had a time machine, there's many other more worthy things to do with the time machine, but it would be fun nonetheless to take present day Cameron and have him do an interview with past Cameron. And have them both ask each other, well, why do you believe that? Well, why did you reject that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be fun.
It'll be like the two Gamoras meeting in the MCU. Like,
Yep.
Why did you love this asshole?
I kind of liken it to, I don't know if anybody have ever watched, Ghost in the Shell has like 4 or 5 different iterations now. But in the Ghost in the Shell TV series standalone complex, there's a couple points where the main character, it goes in the shell, is futuristic, everybody's cyberized, everybody has computers in their brains and like literally ports in the back of their neck that you can hook up to and network. There's a couple points in one of the series where the main character needs to get some information out of a suspect. So she will accost that suspect, hook up to his brain without him knowing, hack his brain, and it basically becomes like a virtual environment where she's there with the suspect in a virtual reality, and he's sitting on a chair, and he is completely open and non-resistant to any question she asks. It's like she's tapped into his true being, his subconscious, and she sits there and just asks him questions like, why did this crime occur? Why are you doing this? Blah blah blah. Like, it would be nice to just be able to tap into a person's true inner thoughts on something and get truly honest, unreserved answers, free of ego, free of emotion, and just really, I would love our street epistemologists to be able to do that with somebody, because like I said, if the claim is justified and the belief is justified, then it can withstand any inquiry. It can handle that. There's nothing there's no question that can be asked that can trip you up if your belief is consistent with reality. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're just about done here. There's a bonus, though, and I know I've kind of accidentally revealed it a couple of times. I laughed at this.
Wow.
Bonus tip. Stop the interview after 5 minutes. Make it look like you want to talk to them, but don't talk to them. This is basically what I'm seeing here. This tip actually qualifies as a little dirty. At least he admits that. Some street epistemologists lure you into a conversation by saying that the interview will last 5 minutes.
I've never heard that.
I've never heard that either.
I have heard door knocker people say, sure. They do the whole thing. Do you have time to hear about the good news of our Lord and Savior, yada, yada? And he said, no, I'm really busy. I'm making dinner. Oh, it'll only take 5 minutes.
And I can understand if a person wants to talk to you about something, if they come up and say to you, hey, I need 30 minutes of your time on the street, almost everybody's going to be like, no, I got to be somewhere. I got to go do something. I want to enjoy my day. Mm-hmm. It is a common tactic to say, hey, can I just have 5 minutes of your time? And that can be an honest request. I just want 5 minutes of your time. But if the conversation turns into something that both parties is enjoying, it's perfectly fine to go beyond 5 minutes. In fact, if that's the case, the person that initiated the conversation didn't lie. The conversation is just naturally taking longer than 5 minutes if both parties remain engaged. It's different if the street epistemologist is like holding the person hostage there or something like that, which I don't think anyone's ever done ever. But Cameron here is trying to make it look like the street epistemologist wants an hour of your time, but he will tell you he only wants 5 minutes of your time. So don't believe him. Only give him 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, bro. Time's up.
Yeah.
No time for truth.
Exactly. Hey, Stephanie, how's it going?
Hey, Stephanie.
Yeah. We have an all-star cast tonight in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. I'm having a really good time. This is great. All right, so this is done for at least 2 reasons. The first reason is bait. Yes, those dastardly street epistemologists trying to bait you into a conversation. Maybe there's a street epistemologist or two out here that does that, but I mean, generalizing like this is ridiculous. Not every street epistemologist is out there to trap you in a conversation that you can't escape so they can destroy your faith. It's not happening. You're more likely to buy an interview if you know that it won't cost a lot of time. Sure, that's a common tactic to get a conversation started. If a conversation's going longer than 5 minutes, that means both people enjoy it, usually. Secondly, they are establishing roles. The street epistemologist is interviewing you and you are being interviewed. Well, yeah, duh. This means that any questions you have about them or their beliefs can be shelved until after the interview. In most cases, however, the interview lasts much longer than 5 minutes. Questions that pop up in your mind usually go unasked. And this is all by design.
Because we're so devious.
So devious, yeah. You know, I can understand, hey, if you want to really get somewhere, you can tell a person, you may have questions for me. Can we shelf those? And you can say something like, hey, afterwards, after we're done with this line of thinking, ask your questions to me. Or why not just have a back and forth conversation? It doesn't necessarily have to be an interrogation. Yeah, I think this is Cameron just generalizing those evil street epistemologists, painting them all with a broad brush, and basically trying to sow distrust in these individuals. Because if you kind of poison the well, if you kind of teach your Christian audience that, hey, all those street epistemologists, they're trying to trick you. They're trying to get a rise out of you. They're trying to get emotions out of you. They're trying to trap you in a conversation. They're lying to you. Then now, that is it. If you want your followers to avoid street epistemologists, that's a great way to teach them to avoid them by basically poisoning that well, by keeping them from.
Yeah, just tell them. Remember how you got converted by an apologist on the street?
Yeah.
Well, street epistemologists will lie to you the same way.
That's basically it. It's essentially poisoning the well here.
Yeah, and if you actually watch, Read Nice Wonders channel, what is it? Wow, I'm blanking. But Read Nice Wonders channel and other SE channels, all they start with is one question: what is your claim? That's it. Like, that's the only scripted. That's the only scripted question, and the conversation just goes out of the shit that they say. Like, because if it were scripted, you couldn't actually viably try to pick apart different kinds of beliefs. Like, what's your claim? Well, I believe in an unfalsifiable God, so anything that you try to say to me or ask me about, I'm fully justified in saying, I believe it, shut your mouth. Well, then what do you do with that? Like, you can't follow a script when someone does that. Like, if they Darth you, if they Darth Dawkins you, what are you supposed to do then? Like, what? They've got a script, right? Doesn't matter.
Measure scripts.
Silly.
See whose script is thicker.
Yeah.
My God has a bigger script than your God.
Turn your SE into the hang-up. no, no, no.
no, you're done. Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm going to rip through these last three paragraphs, and then we'll call that good for the article. There's one follow-up paragraph. We'll finish it up. Here's what I suggest. Here's what Cameron Bertuzzi suggests. If they ask you for 5 minutes, accept on the condition that the interview stops at 5 minutes. From then on, you want to have a regular, unscripted conversation. If they don't mention a time limit, suggest one. So Cameron's basically saying the street epistemologist is going to have a process. To defeat that process, simply deprive it of time. That's not a defense against inquiry. By prohibiting inquiry, you're not defending against inquiry.
Well, it works on evolution.
Stopping.
Yeah.
Put on your holy helmet and run.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of remember that old Simpsons Halloween episode where all the things in the town came to life, like the donut guy came to life, and like it was basically all the signs in Springfield got haunted, and they all came to life and started wrecking the town. And then the solution to it was just don't look at the signs. They're advertising. Don't look at the signs and they die. And that's what happened. They have a song, Just Don't Look, Just Don't Look. That's how they convince everybody to stop looking at the signs and kill them. It's kind of what Cameron's doing here. Just don't listen. Just don't listen. And then, hey, boom, problem solved. We defeated street epistemologies by simply not talking to them. Yeah. Anyway, suggest a time limit. Say you're happy to participate in an interview, but only for 5 minutes. No longer than 5 minutes. Who cares whether you can get anywhere productive in just 5 minutes or not? Limit it to 5 minutes. After that point, you want to have a normal, unrehearsed exchange where either side can ask questions, aka where you can start practicing apologetics on your interlocutor. That's really what it comes down to. You don't want to be on the defensive. You want to be on the offensive because Christ wants you to do that. Got to wield that sword of Christ.
The tinfoil hat of Christ.
Yeah. Keep in mind that street epistemology works best when the atheist is in the driver's seat. Talking or taking away the interview dynamic is the equivalent of forcing a scripted actor to perform improv. It's not scripted. A straight epistemologist is going to ask questions, follow-up questions based on your responses. There isn't a script here. Sure, I can make a flowchart. If I have nothing but yes and no answers, sure, I can make a flowchart. I guess you could make a script. But there's an infinite number of yes and no questions that can be asked and all kinds of ways that thing can go. It's
the infinite script.
Yeah. The thing is, though, you will, if you do this enough, which I'm sure like people like Pine Creek can attest to, you will notice patterns. You will notice common answers to certain questions and common directions the conversation will go. Mm-hmm. You will see patterns emerge. But there's no script here. I'm not following a flow chart and navigating the conversation that way. Let's see here. They might still do well, but the dynamic has changed completely. They might still be effective against you, but at least you're trying. The reason I mention this is that if they're good, they will have ways of making the interview longer. They might insist they have one more question. If they're feeling desperate, they might even shame you for not answering. In other words, they might say that a good Christian ought to know how to answer this. A good Christian should know how to answer this. Even just outside of Christianity, a good, rational person with justified beliefs should be able to answer these questions. It really has nothing to do with Christianity. It's having to do with justified positions and justified beliefs and being able to weather that honest inquiry.
This one feels like projection again. Like I'm sure there are probably some street epistemologists who do this, but it strikes me like all the things he's saying in that paragraph are things that I've seen street preachers do. Like, instead of saying, any good Christian should be able to answer this, any man of science or reasonable logic person should, all that crap. Yeah. So I feel like he's tipping his hand a little and saying, this is what we do, therefore they probably do it too.
Yeah. And I was Jehovah's Witness. I preached quite a lot, and I've maybe engaged a tactic or two. I think in the Jehovah's Witness literature, where they actually given you a script to use at the door, many times it opens up with, I just want a moment of your time. Can I share with you just a single scripture? And then the idea is you get the person engaged, you start talking about things, and then they might ask you a question or something. Then you can read more scriptures. Like, both sides employ these types of tactics. And it really comes down to the motivation of the person initiating the conversation. Cameron here is trying to paint it that all street epistemologists are doing this. All street epistemologists want to lure you into a long, drawn-out conversation where if they beat you with enough questions, you're going to, collapse and capitulate and all these things.
I'm going to hell.
Yeah. And again, if your position is justified and true, you can withstand any inquiry for any length of time. I think here, I just highlighted it. Set a timer. Can you imagine a street professional? 5 minutes. Start
Google
now.
set an alarm.
Yeah, Google set an alarm. Yeah.
It's what I do for my kids when I need to get them in bed, not for having a conversation with an adult.
Yeah. Set a phone. That's what he says right there. And then note, I'm not suggesting that you do street epistemology on them, because your questions might be sufficiently answered with either, nuance level of confidence, no use of the term faith, because we don't use that, more well thought out positions, admissions of I don't know. Like, that's what you're going to get from somebody who is not a Christian. You're going to get reasonable answers to these questions. So don't use street epistemology back on them, because they might weather the storm you throw against them and make you look bad. That's really what it's coming down to.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is that there are a few Christian street epistemologists, too, who have no problem, making the SE sign or whatever. Like, let's talk about your beliefs.
I would love to talk to somebody like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's one in particular I have in mind, but
yeah,
the other ones, like, maybe. And like, and even when I was in my former church, if I would have came up with the idea to like have a sign like "Let's talk beliefs," I would have been all over that shit. Like, yeah, let's go do that. Like, I love talking about people's beliefs anyway. Yeah, and then I just would be a Christian doing exactly this. Oh yeah, you believe that? Why do you believe that? Oh. So, it's not just atheists that want to do this. It's just empathetic, curious, And actually, I should take that back a little bit, or wind that back a little bit, because whenever someone new came to one of our home Bible studies, this is exactly what we would try to do to them, but with the Christian bend, right? But at first, we'd butterball them with like nice questions or whatever. But then it's like, so what did you think about the home Bible study? Or was there anything that the Bible teacher said that you agree or disagree with? Right? And then it starts getting into their beliefs. Oh, why do you believe that?
Yeah. Gonna bring BS's comment up here. Street epistemologists.
Ooh.
Clever. This is why BS has such a great channel, because he's a smart thinker.
For real.
Yeah. If you haven't subscribed to BS's channel, go over and check it out. It's entertaining. Yeah. Yes. It's very entertaining. All right. So
actually, he has a short video with me in it, and it's my second favorite video.
Oh, cool. Let's go watch it. Nice. Mm-hmm. Cameron is suggesting that you end, in italics, street epistemology. Stop the interview dynamic and have a normal, unscripted conversation where both parties are asking and answering questions. That's what I'm suggesting. So, Cameron, here's a question. You're suggesting both parties ask and answer questions. Is it okay if both parties ask and answer questions separately? Like, I can sit here and say, hey, I'm going to sit down with you, Mr. Christian. For 30 minutes, I'm going to ask questions. You're going to do the answering. Let's have a 30-minute street epistemology session. And then after that, you give me questions for 30 minutes. why do the questions have to be blended up together in the same conversation? Why can't they be done separately? The result's the same, right? An equal amount of questions and back and forth can happen. And hey, and if you want to, if he wants to say, hey, well, you should have a conversation. Okay, fine. Let's do another 30 minutes at the end of it and just have a free flowing conversation. Why not? Sure. Why limit interviews to 5 minutes? Why stop a conversation from happening? What's the fear? And I think through this blog post and from everything we've seen, and also the very real life, effects of street epistemology and the results that I've seen on many videos, the fear is here that questions, honest-hearted questions that are not loaded, can expose cognitive dissonance. It can expose contradictions in positions. It can cause that discomfort. And it is very effective at making people reconsider what they are claiming to be true. And this whole bonus point here is just, I don't know, like I feel dirty from reading it because it's basically just shut down the conversation. Don't talk to them. Only talk to them if you can spout Christian apologetics back at them. Just the whole thing kind of just feels evasive, scared. It's not a very good representation of the Christian faith. Was it Mark 13:11? Don't worry beforehand about what to say. Just say whatever is given to you at the time, because it is not you speaking, but the Holy Spirit. That's supposed to be in a court trial. I mean, like the preface of that scripture is saying that during a trial, you are on the stand being questioned. You can't say, hey, I know I'm here on trial, but I'm only going to give you 5 minutes of my time. Or, hey, let's have a conversation instead of this, interview. Cameron, Mark 13:11. Don't worry about what to say. Let the Holy Spirit speak through you.
How dare you invoke what the Bible says? Who believes that dusty old book?
Yeah. It reeks of that Eric Manning Testify short. Hey, you. Yeah, you doubting Christian.
Yeah.
Don't listen to those atheists.
Yeah, you with the doubts. yeah, exactly. I would love to see this fly in a court where a person's up on the witness stand, or up on in the box being asked questions. All right, so let's finish this up and put a nail in this coffin. We have stretched this out into 4 full hours. Ember and Niddy, this is good stuff.
We are good at this.
What is your goal? As the saying goes, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Invoking images of violence while talking about defending the faith, probably not a good approach.
Is that actually a saying?
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's a quote from Mike Tyson. That's a Mike Tyson quote. Yeah.
I've heard oh shit, how does it go? Something along the lines of plans don't survive first contact with the enemy. It's like I'm misquoting it badly because I'm very tired. But
another one,
Sun Tzu.
Another good one is your plan A is only as good as your plan B. So that's another really good one. Invoking images of violence while talking about defending Christ, probably not a good idea, but let's just roll with it. I understand what he's trying to say. You probably won't remember half of the tips in the blog post in a real interaction. Here's what I suggest. Set an average goal that Here's what I suggest. Set an average goal that allows for improvisation. What does that mean? Set an average overall goal that allows for improvisation. Basically, don't let the street epistemologists do street epistemology.
Don't focus on what you're talking about. Focus on your own thing. Like, I can't let him ask questions. That would be horrible.
Yeah, I don't quite understand what he's. The only way I can really interpret this here is with him saying set an overall goal that allows for improvisation. Is basically saying don't find yourself in a position of interviewer, where you are on the defensive the whole time. He's basically saying try to convert the interview into a conversation. Because he said that previously above.
But 1 Peter 3:15 is you should always have an answer for anyone who asks.
Yeah, be
So
prepared to give a defense.
Yeah, let that Holy Spirit speak through you in Mark 13:11. Yeah.
Or B.S. Lewis, why even engage in the first place? Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
right?
You don't have to.
I think this comes back to the faith issue, where it's like you want faith to mean something good, but you know it doesn't mean something good in a conversation, because you'll get torn apart if you use faith. That's why you need to redefine 100% confidence as the same amount of confidence that Caesar crosses the Rubicon, which is not 100%. The same thing comes here, in that you want to look like you're engaging, but you don't want to engage. Give them only 5 minutes. Like that have your cake and eat it too type thing. Like, how do I make it look like I'm playing ball, but not playing ball?
I'm going to talk about something that I do in the real life, not YouTube's.
Yeah.
I'm going to step
away. I'm going to step away for 1 second. You go ahead and continue on, Niddy.
I have this thing, and I take it to Panera Breads and coffee shops, and what I write on it is, it's best to be an atheist in 2023. Let's chat. And nice. I'll tell you, I talk to all kinds of people, all kinds of faith traditions, and it is not SE. I am just putting the claim out there and seeing who bites. And
yeah, because you're not starting with a question, you're starting with a claim.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when I do this, and I think my results will probably be the same if I instead did it with just, let's talk about what you believe and why. And here's why I think that. Because there are people who walk by my sign, they'll either snubly look at me and go, oh, like, you dirty, heathen. Bleh. And then there's other people who I know see it, but they're trying not to see it, right? They give me eye contact. They see the sign. It looks like they're thinking about it, and then they walk off, right? Those are people who don't want to have the conversation. And then there's the people, and then there's two other kinds of people, but they have a core about them that's the same. And this core is that they're either they're very sociable. They have a drive to their existence, and they care about people in some broad sense, right? Whether they religiously care or they just empathetically care. And so those are the kinds of people who approach me almost exclusively. Now, there's the people who have that care, curiosity, or interest, who are who need what they believe to be true. And then there's the people who don't care about what they believe is true or not. But it's that gregariousness, it's that motivation to understand something they're not familiar with that drives them to my side. And so this last part, Cameron is that person, right? But he's not the second person, he's the first one. He has that drive and wants to have the conversation, but he needs something to be true, right? And he's the kind of person that would engage my "it's best to be an atheist" sign, right? People who watch his channel, people who probably won't read this article or watch this stream, like, they're not going to be as engaged, right? They'll see this stuff in their YouTube algorithm or us on the street, but those are not the kind of people that are coming up to this. And I think that's a great point, Ember, because this, in a way, a lot of this is like a tipping of the hand of what he probably thinks about this stuff, or what was going on in his life when he wrote this, right? And not to psychologize, but I've had dozens of these conversations now over the past year, doing this goofy, personal sign project, and these are the kind of people that shake out of my sifter. they're almost always the same. Like it's not. And the only shy ones that come up are dragged by their gregarious friends.
It's fascinating how it's the people who feel like they have something that they can prove, not necessarily something to prove.
That's right.
The ones who actually acknowledge that you might actually have, break through to immediately kind of people. They're the ones who go home and watch William Lane Craig videos to get the reassurance.
Yep.
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 Okay, well.
So, yeah, that's what I think about that from doing this kind of stuff in public, but doing it in reverse. And then, it puts me on the defensive, right? Because I'm the one who has to defend something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even though I kind of don't, and it drives me crazy, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But I won't get it.
The Jehovah's Witnesses that came to my door yesterday, they were trying to flip the script on me when I was asking them to justify their belief that, certain passages in Isaiah were written before the events they describe. One of them.
You mean after? Oh, go on.
Yeah, prophecy written before the events they describe. Yeah, as a prophecy. One of them immediately tried to flip the script on me and say, "Well, do you believe in evolution?" And it's like they're trying to that there's a tacit admission that, hey, you are holding a position that you can't necessarily defend. So you're trying to point the same out in me and establish that, hey, we are both holding equally indefensible positions, or we both have that flaw in our methodology to reach things. And my response to him was, yeah, I believe evolution is a fact, but I'm not bound to that. If I have evidence that shows me that evolution isn't the best way to explain why we have so much life or diverse life on the planet, I will change my conclusion about it. And that is not something that they can do with their faith. They have to hold on to it. They have to keep it just the way it is. It cannot change, because if it changes, then that's an admission that they had it wrong before. And if they had it wrong before, nothing stops them from having it wrong now. I think that's really the crux of why it's kind of really frustrating to talk to some Christians and some religious people, is because their positions are unchanging, unrefining, they're static. And when it comes up against reality and comes up against, honest scrutiny, like you would find with a street epistemologist, it is unyielding, to the detriment of the Christian trying to defend it, because the Christian trying to defend an unyielding position is going to embarrass themselves or be embarrassed by questions and experience that cognitive dissonance, experience that discomfort, experience that ickiness. And then it manifests in posts like this from Cameron Bertuzzi, where he's assigning motivations, shutting down the conversation, shifting around terms to escape, this inquiry, all kinds of just kind of underhanded things where it's like, this is not, can you imagine if a scientist looking for the truth about, say, biology, or a scientist looking for how does this evidence explain a conclusion to me? Can you imagine like these types of tactics being employed in the field of science? Like
Answers in Genesis, Discovery Institute.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine a scientist says, hey, we have our conclusion here. If somebody's questioning you about your conclusion, hey, how does this experiment reveal this? Or how do you know this is the case? Only give them 5 minutes. Only give that 5. When somebody is rebutting your claims via a paper, only give them 5 pages.
Yeah, you're here to defend your PhD thesis. You walk into the room and say, I'm only giving you 5 minutes.
Yeah, only 5 minutes to defend the thesis. Only 5 pages if you're writing a rebuttal on my work. Hey, why are you questioning me so much about my position? Why can't I question you about your position? Let's have a back and forth. Let's have a discussion. Yeah, can you imagine if this was applied to science? Like, how we would not be talking over the internet right now if this was a scientific method that Cameron just laid out here. We would still be rubbing sticks together to make fire. Yeah. So anyway, that's the blog post, and that filled up the entire 2 hours I was allotting for tonight. Ember did have a video from
Anthony.
Magna
last
Anthony
name.
Magnabosco.
Yeah,
That's
that's
such a
it.
glorious last name, Magna Bosco.
I'm so bad with names. I'm proud of myself. I remembered the Anthony part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as far as I know, Magna Bosco is a street epistemologist, and he's well known. And he's very well respected. So this may be a good thing to come back to at some point in the future. I definitely want to keep on diving into this because, like I mentioned at the beginning of yesterday's stream, street epistemology is kind of one of the focal points of my channel. I want to dive into this. I want to become a better street epistemologist myself. And I've actually had the blessing of Jehovah's Witnesses coming to my door last weekend and yesterday.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. I need to practice, and God sent some witnesses to my house. Yeah, and I've had some good. I mean,
No, Satan sent them. Get it right.
I don't care who it comes from. I'm getting the practice I need. So, yeah, and it's interesting to me, and it's fascinating because I came up with that analogy earlier, just kind of off the cuff. These are like my unit tests of my code. I'm unit testing your faith. I am testing it to see if it's resilient and it behaves the way we expect it to behave. And when I say it behaves in the way we expect it to behave, comports to reality, aligns with what we know, makes sense, is free of contradiction. So yeah, I think it's fascinating stuff, and I had a really great time with both you and Niddy, Ember. I'm sorry, with both you guys, Ember and Niddy. I'm still in the mode of Ember's here, not Niddy, and I'm also 2 beers into the evening. This is my last beer in the fridge. I don't normally drink this. This is a gigantic Stellar Artois that.
Yeah, I saw that.
I came
the emergency reserve.
I came into possession of this through no action on my part. My dad lives right next door. I have like 2 houses connected by a breezeway. My 80-year-old dad lives next door, and he a couple of years ago started dating a really nice lady, and she comes over every weekend, and then she came over this weekend with a couple of beers for me as a gift. So I have a beer I don't normally drink, but thank you so much for giving it to me. But yeah, so thank you guys for stopping by. I want to get through all the promotions and stuff like that. So everybody here, if you have not yet checked out Ember or Niddy's channels, go check it out. Ember's channel on YouTube is Better Than Ember. In fact, I prepared there we go. I prepared a banner for that. Yeah, so go check out his channel. And hey, Niddy, I didn't prepare one for you, but I'm so awesome that I can probably whip one up right now for you, just so people can see it.
Using those mad coding skills.
Get it.
Yeah, mad coding skills. So, almost there. I can do it.
On my channel, I break down a culty, manipulative church. I use strong language. I talk about dicks in the Bible, and if you don't like that, well, maybe don't come. But hey, I'll take subs. I love them.
Hey, the Bible talks about cutting off the tip of your penis. So if you're talking about dicks,
so
I think you're well within the realm of the material. So anyway, there's a link to Niddy's channel. And Niddy, I'm going to update the description of this video to make sure that's all in there. Cool. My name is Eric. I'm from Skeptics and Scoundrels. So my Twitter is @SkeptandScound. If you aren't currently following me, please like and subscribe and everything. Probably everyone here has already liked and subscribed, but if you haven't, please consider checking out the rest of my stuff. My channel is only 6 months old. I've had some mild success, and now I'm entering that phase of, okay, the honeymoon's over. I have to actually do some real work in order to get some real growth out of the channel.
I gotta work now.
I gotta like do things. It's not just automatic. You just gain followers. Yeah.
Oh wait, we have to shill for BS because he's 6 away from 400. So play this.
God.
Oh, nice.
Play the clip in the private chat to get the little taste of.
Okay, I will do that right now.
We're doing.
We have 20,
this clip is BS, huh? Is that what you're telling me?
BS
yeah.
list, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play the clip. We have 25, 23, 20-ish people here. If you haven't subscribed to BS's channel, hop over there and subscribe. Let's push him past that milestone. He deserves it. He's been around for a long time. Let me try. Okay, how can I do this? I want to.
And I'm in it, so I mean.
Oh snap. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Present, share the tab. Cool. I can maximize it maybe. All right, cool. Let's watch what BS has on this short.
You show them historical evidence, the documents, the things that people said that regarding Christ or Jesus, right? That give good evidence that he's existed and that he was believed to be the Messiah early on. And then it's like,
People believed early on that Joseph Smith really translated gold tablets.
People currently believe there's not a Jesus in Australia.
People currently believe that Trump is God's anointed person to lead America, and he's actually still the president.
Yeah, people currently think that 9/11 was an inside job by George Bush.
We could do this all day.
Oh, goodness.
That was so good. I hope that's its own clip.
Awesome.
Thank you to my patrons. Your generosity.
What is that?
To my patrons.
That's
I don't know,
Magic Skeptic.
But he added all the graphics.
It autoplay,
like,
yeah.
We did that as like a live response to somebody else, and he added all the graphics and the ha 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 animation, and he's just so good at animating stuff. It's great.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, well, hey, thank you guys. There we go. Yeah, thanks again, guys. I think we've done all this. Oh, if I forget, I would be so ashamed. I gotta show off my animals.
Damn right.
So I've been nibbling Parmesan cheese all night. I have a little bit left, and the reason I've been doing that is because it keeps my dog's attention. They're all here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shit. One of them. Oh no, there's Dylan. Okay. All right. So I got 2 dogs and I got a cat. So let me show them off. So this guy is named Howl. He is a 5-year-old corgi. He at the dog park, everyone's like, "Is that a Jack Russell Terrier corgi mix?" And I'm like, "No, it's a full corgi." So he's kind of got a odd look to him, but he's my bro. It's been around for 5 years, and yeah, I love him a lot. He's extremely possessive too. Like if I lay down on the couch for a nap or anything like that, he's right there to guard me. And then I have this other one over here. Oh dear, she's trying to get away. She knows what I'm trying to do. All right, this one is Sophie. And if you've noticed, Hal and Sophie, they're characters from Hal's Moving Castle. They are, it's a favorite movie of my wife and mine. But anyway, yeah, we have Hal and we have Sophie. So this one is about 2.5 years old, and she's crazy. And I think the cat just skedaddled. I think we managed to successfully scare the cat out of here.
It happens.
Got a cat named Amelia. She's around. I'll probably show her off at some point in the future. Anyway, okay, won't draw it any further. Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it. I think these are 2 very successful streams, and I had a good time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, thank you so much. We'll probably be doing this again in the future here pretty soon. So everyone have a good night. Yeah. Peace out.
Toodles, everybody.
Laters.